friends. This is the program Empire of Lies, where we discuss manipulation and disinformation in the Russian media. Television as nuclear theater. Russian television is once again engulfed in apocalypse, not as a catastrophe, but as a familiar norm. In the latest episode of 60 Minutes, Olga Skabeeva opens the broadcast with a phrase that could have been heard in a Soviet newsreel from 1962. The Trump administration is igniting a new nuclear arms race capable of destroying all of humanity. What follows isn't a news report, but a carefully constructed performance, with measured horror, false moral alarm, and the obligatory conclusion: the West is to blame, Russia will save us. Strip away the theatrical intonations, and it becomes clear. We're talking about shaping a narrative in which Russia is not the aggressor, but the only rational player in a world that has lost its mind. 1. The nuclear theme as a political genre. Skabeeva begins with a retelling of the American domestic political debate, ostensibly about Donald Trump's decision to resume nuclear testing. However, the real goal is not to inform, but to immerse the viewer in a global threat landscape. The words of American senators are presented as proof that the US is prepared to destroy the planet for profit, while Russia supposedly remains restrained and moral. Propaganda masterfully utilizes the mirror-shifting technique. The topic is not about Trump, but about Russia. Any American initiative is interpreted as an excuse to reaffirm the need for Russian weapons, be it the Burevestnik or the Poseidon. Thus, television turns even Western debates into Kremlin commercials. Everyone is crazy, but we are strong and rational, they say. 2. Poseidon and the cult of the apocalypse. Toward the middle of the broadcast, the protagonist of the Russian imaginary world, weapons, enters the stage. Poseidon, Burevestnik, a nuclear drone, a tsunami as a form of NATO response. This isn't just a demonstration of power, but a ritual of self-affirmation through the threat of annihilation. Skabeeva asserts that since Trump and Beijing are destroying the arms control system, Russia has the right to expand its theater of operations. In this logical reversal, apocalypse becomes proof of strength. Fear is the new language of diplomacy. It is here that we see how the Russian media system uses nuclear rhetoric not to intimidate enemies, but to mobilize its own. If the world is once again on the brink, then the country is once again surrounded by enemies. Hello, dear friends and comrades. Your favorite program, 60 Minutes Hot on the Trail, is live. So, the Trump administration is igniting a new nuclear arms race, capable of destroying all of humanity. The American president's scandalous statement about the need for nuclear testing was confirmed by the US vice president. J.D. Vance justifies his boss's initiative by arguing that the nuclear arsenal needs to be checked from time to time to ensure everything is functioning properly. Senator Tom Cotton readily supported the initiative. The hawkish Republican believes that testing should be carried out not only on new weapons, but also on existing stockpiles. This could be accomplished through a series of low-yield underground explosions. Democrats, naturally, are opposed. Senator Jackie Rosen recalls the horrific consequences of nuclear testing, which, according to her, have already devastated the environment of her home state of Nevada. That is where the main American nuclear test site is located. The New York Times provides a terrifying perspective on this situation. The newspaper notes that Trump talks about the afterlife too often. 3. Demoralization of the West as a consolation for the viewer. Another function of this broadcast is to demonstrate that the West is already dying. Europe, according to Skabeeva, lacks willpower. America is losing its mind. Germany and France are forced to submit. Even a remark by the Belgian defense minister, accidental and quickly refuted, is transformed into a sensation. He threatened to wipe Moscow off the face of the earth. This is pure projection. In reality, the threat is the opposite. It is Russian speakers who regularly talk about burning Paris and Poseidon extinguishing London. Thus, the viewer is instilled with a simple yet emotionally powerful idea. The whole world is against us, but the world fears us. 4. Changing the meaning of peace. A phrase from the broadcast is symptomatic. If Putin comes and announces a ceasefire, the meeting will be meaningful. In this construction, the word peace ceases to signify an end to war. It becomes the monopoly of the strong. Peace can only come when the enemy capitulates, that is, agrees to Russian dictate. This is not diplomacy, but pseudo-religious dogma. Peace is the reward for submission. 5. Cynicism under the guise of morality. To lend credibility to the sermon, the program frames it with moral details. Nevada's suffering from nuclear testing, an ecological catastrophe, footage of Hiroshima. But all this isn't empathy, but rather the aesthetics of destruction. The images of the nuclear mushroom cloud are accompanied not by regret, but by pride in power. This is the peculiarity of Russian rhetoric. Morality is used as a pretext to justify the immoral. Think, analyze, draw conclusions, and don't be fooled. This was the program Empire of Lies.